Hello, how are you all doing today? Welcome back to yet another Q&A session. David Hubert was kidnapped today, and so in his place, we have a special guest star. It was just actually kind of perfect because it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. We want to kind of spend a bit more time introducing you to more of the people that are working tirelessly behind the scenes, trying to grow this community and try to accommodate all the things that you are all looking for. And so today on the stream, we have none other than better known as Van Animator, who shows up often in the chat, but his real name is Scott Hewitt, who I think I've said his real name a couple times. And Scott has been amazing at really trying to drive our efforts to get the word out there with all this, free content that we're making, to making sure that we, more and more people out there discover the content. It's just nice to have him on the show today. So let me bring him in. We're going to do Q&A like we normally do, and just with a new face. Here he comes, Mr. Scott. Hello.
Hi, Brent.
How's
it
you
going?
Not
Hi,
bad.
everyone. Good, thank you.
You have a very ominous backdrop. It looks very ominous back there.
I know. Well, I always see your backdrop and David's, and you got all this cool glowy stuff. So I was like, all right, I need to do something. Otherwise, it's just going to look horrible.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm slowly but surely actually completely changing I'm going the wrong way. My background is starting to change slowly because I've been wanting to make changes in this office for so long, and now I'm finally doing it. But I have just so much crap jammed in here. It's quite the quite the feat. So slowly but surely, if you could only see what the camera does not show, you'd be terrified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I beat you though. I think mine's definitely messier.
Well, you got like a full-fledged like lighting rig and stuff like that back there, which I'm impressed by.
Yeah,
Little
yeah,
known fact: Scott has his own YouTube channel, and it's pretty awesome. Maybe we should link it at some point tonight so people could go check it out. And so
yeah,
that
for
whole
sure.
lighting rig is so that he can do those episodes for the channel. He does
Yeah.
children's books, and the website is sort of a companion, I guess, to that brand, right? Basically.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah, I created my YouTube channel, Skullbrain TV, and also creating a children's book series
Yeah.
under the name Skullbrain Books. So it's also like works in. See, I've got the little logo
There it
here.
is. He's
Branding.
ready.
There you
He's
go.
ready to. He's
Yeah.
ready to brand.
It should be Agora. I feel like it should be like an Agora.
Nah, whatever. We got all sizes and shapes on this show. It's always nice to sort of, because I mean, what Agora is, if anything, it's a way of spreading the word on lots of really cool initiatives, because we have people on regularly all the time that are doing similar stuff to us, and we don't see that as competition. We see this as part of an extended community. So I feel like the stuff that you're doing is exactly in the same vein. So it's awesome. It's all good.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm learning a lot as well. Like, I sit here and it feels weird being on this side and not being in the chat, kind of interacting with everyone.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like all this stuff that, especially that Manny Fregelis talk, a lot of it's helping me kind of grow my brand as well.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's really cool that some of the stuff we're digging into is actually transcends well beyond the scope that you would normally think animation is. A lot of these sort of these things that people just never, they don't teach this stuff in school, like this is the thing. It's like they teach you how to hopefully they taught you how to animate well, but I mean, that's even already a question mark depending on where you got taught. And all the other human sort of skills that go along with trying to brand yourself and plan for the future and deal with challenges, very human challenges, on and off the job. These are things that just you kind of have to learn through experience. So if we can sort of put the word out there a little bit for people to learn, hopefully not the hard way, by at least getting a little bit of advice up front, then hopefully we've saved some people a little bit of hassle down the road.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the idea, at least.
Absolutely.
What was I going to say? Speaking of which, we are planning currently, David and I are planning a really cool talk. It's going to be, we're trying to make it in two. I think you know about this because you were on the email. But so I have a good friend of mine who does recruiting. He's a very, very well experienced recruiter who's been working in lots of different industries: games, film, television, VFX, you name it, he's worked it. But he's also been behind the scenes working on a lot of government lobbying when it comes to tax credits. He knows a lot about how the business works, and he knows sort of the nuts and bolts of a lot of the stuff that's never really exposed to a lot of us, unless you're high up enough at a company where it might be exposed because you need to know it. But your typical animator is never going to know it. But interestingly, it has a gigantic impact on your job in many ways, especially now in this new world that we live in, where the borders have been quote unquote torn down, and you can work remotely from home pretty much anywhere in the world. Yet that, while that is theoretically true, you may not get the job because maybe they want to put someone in the seat that's working from home within the locale of the studio, because it may be benefiting from, the company may not benefit from tax credits unless you're actually working in the area. So tax credits are a thing, especially in Canada, because Canada, it's one of the main reasons why we're able to get a lot of work here, is that the government's incentivized a lot of it, and therefore it grew industries, and now we have a lot of talent here. So it helped sort of kickstart things, but it's just something I think it's worth knowing, especially because it's a thing, and I think more and more countries are starting to do similar things. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So we have a list. We can, I think we're going to start with the list today and see if we can crack through some of it. But that does not mean you can't ask questions. If you're in chat right now and you have a question about Q&A, if you want to have questions about the way the community is run, I mean, Scott's here. He's pretty much the maestro there. This is the kind of thing that also you might not know about, but it's kind of nice to talk about, because there's a lot of work that goes on behind the doors, the closed doors, that you may never even know what's going on. And so if you have questions about that, or maybe you want to start your own brand or something like that, Scott's been doing that for a while now. He's got more experience than I do, that's for sure. Kind of piggybacking on the Manny talk about trying to create a brand for yourself, it might be a great time to ask that question.
Yeah,
But
if anyone's got any questions about, I mean, my journey getting into animation, I had so many setbacks and people telling me not to do it. And, it really took a leap of faith to just like leave Australia and move to Canada without knowing anyone or anything like that. So, and my first job, I got in and my demo reel, the only acting piece I had was still in Stepped.
Oh boy.
But that was it. I don't think I'd even done any lip sync on it. And I got a job in the industry within like 2 weeks of moving to Canada. And that kind of just like set me off on the path. So there's a lot of people that stress about my reel's got to be perfect. But if you're just trying to get your foot in the door, not as perfect as you might think. I was fixing people's work. When I first got into the industry, I just remember I got this one shot and they're like, can you just fix this up for us? And I'm like, wow, like this person was employed before me. It's like, okay, so yeah.
Yeah, I did kind of leave that part out. Scott's background is in animation, but he's done a lot of other things. But he has animated before. He animated, he animated here in Canada, like actually just here out in Montreal, actually, right?
Yeah. I was in Vancouver for 2.5 years, and then Montreal, and then COVID. So now I'm back in Australia.
That's it. Oh, and another fun fact about Scott, which is another thing you might want to know about him, is that he started was it called the Vancouver Animation?
Yeah. Yeah, Vancouver Animation Network. I think it was like Vancouver Animation Meetup when I first. That's why my name's Van Animator.
That's right. I always assumed it was just because you were working in Vancouver for a while. So like Van is like short for Vancouver, but VAN is the acronym obviously for Vancouver Animation Network. So how big that got to be pretty big, right?
That got to be pretty big. I think the last time I checked, it was 3.5 or just over 3,000 members.
That's pretty cool.
That started off as me sitting down at a table in a pub with one guy who wasn't an animator and another guy that was kind of interested in it. Just three of us, just like awkwardly sitting around going, so you like stuff? But then it was just like it completely ballooned up. Like someone in the industry found out about it, they told all their people, and then it just kind of spiraled. And it was from a place of like wanting to give back. It was before I left, I was like, oh, where's where can I meet industry people, because I've heard you need to have contacts and that helps, but there's nowhere I can really go to meet these people. So I decided to start it. And it was just I can't remember who the chat was, but it was just about giving back to the community and creating somewhere that students and people wanting to get into the industry can mingle with professionals, and not just not to go, here's my demo reel, can you take a look, but just to hang out and have a chat. Exactly.
Because it's got to start somewhere. Because it can be frustrating when people tell you got a network. It's like, okay, cool, I'll network. Where do I do that? Like, tell me where to plug in and I'll go.
At a job fair where there's like hundreds of other people doing the same thing.
Exactly. Like, and it's funny because I mean, Agora started with the same kind of mentality, right? Which is obviously why, you were drinking the same Kool-Aid that we were, which made it a perfect fit for you to come over here and help out with Agora. Because I mean, at the end of the day, there was nothing, and then one day we had a thing, and we didn't have the numbers we got some pretty decent membership numbers now, but it didn't happen overnight. It took a while to and it continues to grow, but it doesn't happen by accident. So it's just you got to build it and they will come, I guess is how it's said, right?
Yeah,
little exactly. Field of Dreams quote for you if you're old enough to remember that one. So let's talk about let's get through some of these questions. You've Scott is also the one organizing all of the questions. He keeps collating them and serving them up on a silver platter for David and I. So it's going to be funny that he gets to pull from some of his hard work tonight as opposed to just us reading off of it. So we got one at the very top. I'll post it here just so people can read it. And for those who are joined a little late, just a little FYI, yes, David is not here. David is indisposed at the moment. He actually didn't have a good enough Wi-Fi signal where he is. And so I thought it was an awesome opportunity to introduce you to one of the amazing community members that has been helping drive things. It's Scott Hewitt, otherwise known as Van Animator in chat. You've seen him before for sure in chat. He's the one making all the amazing social posts. He's the one managing all of that on Facebook and Instagram. So there he is in the flesh.
Hi.
Hi there. Okay, let me go and I'll put it right here.
All right. I can talk in a French accent if that makes people feel more comfortable.
Oui.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Okay, so yeah, that's it.
All right.
It's sort of like David. You're like a proxy to David because you just need that accent. Okay, so question number 1. This was from Najim. And the question was, I've heard about artists getting blacklisted. What's that all about? Good question. Yeah, the famous blacklist. The famous blacklist. I mean, my thought on this is it's not quite as orchestrated as you might think. I think the blacklist is really if you've really burned a couple bridges. You have to keep in mind that people talk, right? And if I'm going to hire somebody and I'm really interested in that person, but there's something that's sort of like I'm not 100% for some reason, or I need to be extra sure about this hire. I'm for sure going to do some of my own homework and due diligence. And the best way of doing that is taking a look at where they've worked and then poking people I know that work there or have worked there. Just be like, do you know the so-and-so? Can you say something about them? There's a lot of that going on all the time. And so the blacklist is less of a list that gets posted and shared amongst many studios. It's more just the natural fact that we all know each other because it's a small world. And it's very easy to get feedback on somebody and how they were on the job. Especially, when we know a lot of supervisors and so naturally someone's going to know you. And we take that kind of feedback quite seriously because it's usually we're going to reach out to people that we trust, people we've worked with before. So we trust their judgment. And if they have a particularly bad judgment about you, that does set a bit of a flag. And if we get one of those, then we're going to dig a little deeper and see if there's more. Maybe it was just a fluke, So it's really not, in my opinion, a list, a physical list, and it's more a mechanism that comes from a small industry where we all talk. I don't know if you got another perspective on this, Scott.
Actually, I've got a question on this. It's
good.
How can someone get off of the blacklist? If they've had a bad experience and they know about it, it's like, man, I really didn't perform that well at the last studio. How can you redeem yourself?
Yeah, it really comes down to context, I think. Because I'll tell you one thing, I don't know anybody who doesn't have some bad history. I mean, I know there was, and then sometimes it's bad. It was just poor communication and misunderstandings. Lots of things can happen. You're best off trying to redeem yourself while you're still there. If you have the opportunity, if you know that things aren't going well, you need to find a way of leveling with the people you're working with and making sure that they understand that the job at hand is important to you and that you are going to give it everything you got, and at the end of the day, if you do that and have that conversation, I don't know what else you can do other than look forward face and look to do better on the next one. Learn from that experience. Turn those lemons into lemonade and find a way of learning something critical from it. And I mean, we all know stories. There's stories about people that are legend at certain studios. I remember some stories about a guy at Ubisoft never ceases to amaze me. There's a famous story about somebody, and I can't remember all the details about it anymore. Someone who had thrown a monitor or a whole computer out the window. And there's some weird backstory, but the problem is that follows this person around now. It's and sometimes, unfortunately, broken telephone can remove some of the details that make it seem maybe more or less of a funny thing. You know what I mean? And so I think that first thing is knowing about it. You gotta be self-aware enough. And I think the only way you're gonna get that is try to make sure that you're building a good rapport with the person who you report to, and make sure that they're giving you the goods. And if they give you a glowing review that's got no critical sort of things, dig. Be like, okay, but I'm really happy to get a review like this. I'm honored, but is there anything I can work on? The problem is that not all your supervisors, and this is, as far as I'm concerned, this should be a fireable offense of a supervisor. If a supervisor gives you nothing but good reviews, but then or gives you nothing but good reviews, or is always giving you praise, but then come time to officially review you suddenly get these a bad grade and all these negative comments, the first time you've ever heard any of that stuff, that is the supervisor not doing their job. That's not your fault. And so that's why I hate to tell you, some of your supervisors aren't going to be very good. Maybe because they're just not suited for it. Maybe because they're just not experienced enough. Maybe because they're just passive aggressive and they don't know how to be honest with you. There's a million reasons why. So because of that, and because that's all outside of your control, be proactive with getting feedback. Don't just rely it on your supervisor. Rely it on people that are peripheral to you. Ask your peers. Is there anything that like that I can do that you think like in any areas that I can improve on? Ask some of the other directors that you may have interfaced with before. Hopefully you got at least a couple directors on your production or supervisors or leads that are willing to give you that feedback.
Yeah,
but it's a tricky one. I think getting the feedback is the first step, and then acting on it and getting better is the next.
Yeah. And to be honest, if you're worried about getting blacklisted, then maybe you need to take a look at what's going on. Like, like if you're going, oh, I'm going to get blacklisted, then yeah, like take a step back, reflect and go. So, and that's where you need to reach out. And who was the conversation with where like you need to be vulnerable? I think it was Dave Gibson you were having a chat with. And he was talking about in leadership being vulnerable and saying, hey guys, like this is where we're at. But as an artist, you also need to be able to do that and be comfortable. And I think Ted T as well spoke about it. Go to someone that you trust and that can turn the situation around and say, look, this is where I'm at. I need some help. And maybe they back off a little bit of work from you, like maybe shuffle some of your shots around. And
because at the end of the day, like if the problem is you're not able to deliver the shots that you've got, and that's giving you a bad reputation, you don't want to be that person. By the way, you don't want to be the person that no one wants to give shots to because they're worried about it not getting done. So you need to find a way of communicating that to supervisor, because maybe the solution is you're just overloaded. That's it. Like ask for help. What you don't want to do is get to the 11th hour and like not deliver the goods. You got to give your lead or your supervisor enough time to adapt and to like give those shots to somebody else, so that somebody else doesn't have to stay till like midnight to get it done. Because that's not going to make you any friends either, right? Like it's now you got a supervisor who's irritated at you as well as one of your coworkers because they just have to clean up your mess. You got to be proactive. You got to put it out there and ask for help when you need it, because people aren't going to remember that you asked for help. They're going to remember if you didn't ask for help and you totally ambushed them with a sorry, it's not going to get done. They're going to remember that way more than they're going to remember, oh, this guy needs help, or this girl, she's sort of always needing a little help to get across the finish line, because that's reasonable, and you're not leaving them in the lurch that way, right?
But it's also going to stick out in a supervisor's mind if you did ask for help. It'll be like, hey, he actually wanted to, they wanted to actually improve. So I'm going to remember that because they were proactive, and they're the sort of people I can work with. Someone like that. If someone needs a little bit more help, maybe their work's not quite there yet. But I can work with that.
Absolutely.
And I can help that grow into what we need for this production.
Totally. By the way, do you guys, can everyone appreciate our matching microphones?
Yeah,
we're like microphone buddies. Do we sound the same?
We had a conversation.
These microphones are amazing. If you're looking for a good mic, a very affordable mic, I would highly recommend this, which is what I did for Scott. Scott is a happy customer. It is the Rode Pod mic. They were very difficult to get when they first came out. I would say, and I've seen acoustical tests of this microphone compared to the Shure SM7B, which is one of the most famous podcast microphones on the market. If you're curious what that one looks like, you've seen it all over the place. It's got a kind of a cool wedge-like shape with all black, like a matte black. Joe Rogan Experience is a good example of, they use the SM7Bs everywhere. I find that this mic is close to the same acoustically, but honestly, it is a fraction of the price. So if you're curious and you're looking to upgrade, this is a great one.
Yeah, I was so hesitant in upgrading and spending the money. It wasn't until we're looking at doing some podcasts, spoiler alert, and we want to record a stinger intro, and I recorded one, sent it through to David, and he's like, the music's great, I like what you're saying, your audio sucks. I was like, hey, Brent, can we have a chat? So, but this has just changed the game even for my own recording. It's going to save me so much time editing, and I can sit here at my desk and read. It's amazing.
They say that audio is 50% of the experience. I'd actually say sometimes in some contexts, it's much more than in this kind of a context. You could, that's the fact that we're turning these things into podcasts for the people who just want to like listen on their phone, on a commute to work or whatever. These shows are perfect because you don't need to see it. It's just a bunch of talking heads. So with the content's all audible. So it's so important to have a great mic. And especially in this new world we live in, where, we're spending so much time online talking that why not be able to up the game a little bit? I keep making the joke that a good camera setup and a good microphone is the new suit and tie. It is how you can be, recognized somehow at work as being someone who's, I don't know what the word is, but someone who's got it together. This talk, by the way, is sponsored by Rode Microphone. Just kidding.
We should reach out to them. That's a good idea.
We should totally be sponsored. Okay, let's do another one of these questions.
Sure, let's get through this backlog.
Looks like you were kind enough to already mark the one complete. You're so on the ball.
That's all done.
Let's go and do. Oops.
This is a good one.
Yeah. Put here again in chat, and I'm going to do this.
Okay.
How to make characters feel alive while animating. Holy crap. That's where do you even begin? This is by the way, this shout out to Praddy_02 for this question, or maybe Prady, Prady_02.
Yep.
They were the one with this question. I don't know where this came from. These questions are coming from where? Instagram? When you get them like this? I know some of them are actually questions from streams we didn't answer.
Yeah, so these ones might be from the Instagram. So we'd have like the ask a question, and these are all the backlogs. So this was probably from one of, I'm not sure who, but one of the previous chats, maybe the Simon Otto one, I think.
Okay. Wow, some old ones in
here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like undigging the Ark of the Covenant with this one here. Okay, so how to make characters feel alive while animating. Oh man. I don't know. You want to take this? You want to take it first?
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
It's kind of a big one.
Yeah. Okay. So going into this one, I've also spent time acting. So I studied acting professionally. So I have my own kind of ways of doing this. But for me, making characters feel alive while animating, it's giving them some motivation.
Yeah.
But, if you want to talk technical, it's like, okay, well, you put on a breathe cycle and that sort of thing, like throwing some blinks But if you really want to give your characters that personality and that spark, it's like kind of knowing who they are and what motivates them, what's happened in the scene before. Are they coming from somewhere where they've just had a fight with someone? What are they going to be doing in the future? Are they really, anticipating maybe they're going to ask their boss for a raise or something like that? And so maybe they're nervous. So it's kind of taking this information, and then you can start to put that into the animation, like into the poses and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good tip. This idea of, and I say this to so many people, it's amazing how many people it never dawned on them that maybe taking some acting classes would be a good idea, which is funny because what you're actually doing as an animator, if you're a character animator, especially in feature film, you're acting vicariously through a character. Like it's sort of like what a puppeteer does, or what someone who's claymating or something like that. It's the same thing. The idea though is that obviously you're acting in a different way. It's not exactly the same thing. The processes are like mentally a little bit similar, but also very different. But taking some acting classes, maybe even some improv classes, these things can sort of loosen you up and have better instincts for motivating your character. I think that was the key word you said that I 100,000,000% agree with. This idea of making sure that a character always has a proper agenda. And this is something that Ed Hooks talks about. I'd like to get Ed Hooks back here. We had him at the 24-hour challenge, and he was a big hit. I really like Ed. We've known each other for a while now, and he's just such an amazing human being. And he's got so many years of acting and teaching acting experience, and now also teaching animators acting, which is a slightly different sort of skill set. And so he's got lots of great insights on these kind of questions. But one of the things I know he would say is, and one of the things he's rather famous for saying is, if you have a character on screen that does not currently have an actual agenda, then it's a waste. It's a shot that's not worth having in the film. And he's right. And it's because, and I would say that this ties into a keyword that you hear Andrew Gordon use a lot, the specificity. What is the specificity of the scene? What is it specifically that's going on right now? Because like the example I always use, and this is maybe going to sound like I'm beating a dead horse because I use it all the time, but it's just so obvious to me, is that if the scene is a character sitting on a bench waiting for like at a bus stop, there is that's not a scene. Sitting on a bench waiting for a bus, because you're not like, why are you waiting for the bus? What's the specificity of waiting for the bus? Are you waiting for the bus because you're late for work? Are you waiting for the bus because you're going on a date that you're really excited about? Are you going on the bus to catch a funeral of a loved one who just passed away? These are all very different agendas, but the stage is the same. And so to give the character life, you need to go deeper than just having them do things. They need to be trying to accomplish something in their life at that specific moment. What is the specificity of that moment, and how does it relate to the specificity of that character? You need to know the character well enough to know how they would react in that kind of scenario, and then you dig deep in there. And you make sure that you're delivering the goods. Otherwise, the scene is just going to feel empty and hollow, and it's not interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Animators that are good at figuring that out are going to have people hanging off their seats because that character is as real as a live action character in a film, or more so, because we have more tools as an animator to really crank it to 11 that an actor really can't compete with, if you really think about it. That's why Pixar films are so engaging, because the stories are great, but the characters are so well established and so true to themselves, because animators get to work in like literally slow motion because they're able to analyze and break down a shot, where an actor has to do it all real time. It's like the difference between live streaming versus like having a week to put something together and edit it and have infographics and all kinds of cool things. Yeah, sure. It's a different world. You can really dig deep and apply more that you can during a live stream.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was this one shot I had when I was working on the Ninja Turtles 2012 series, where every character I worked on that. Yeah.
That's a great series.
That was the dream job. Everyone said, what's your dream job? I said, if I work on Turtles, I'm happy. I'll quit the industry. And
what the hell? Now you got what are you going to do now? You just exactly. Hang up the jersey and man.
Yeah. But there were all the characters were in the scene, in the background, and so cool. they were in the kitchen in the turtle lair, and I was like, man, what am I going to do? Like, we're talking like there's probably 8 characters in this shot, and so I've got Raph. He's looking in the fridge because he's obviously hungry. He's worked up an appetite from the fight. So what's Mikey going to be doing? Well, Mikey's behind him, and he's hungry all the time, so he's annoying Raph and like trying to get in there, and Leonardo's just sort of like sitting at the desk, but I knew what was coming up for Leonardo, so I had him in this real sort of like contemplative thing, because I knew in the next episode he's going to be firing up. And yeah, so just knowing that is super. It just takes it to the whole another level than they're just sort of standing around blinking.
That's it.
And breathing. Yeah. It's
funny because I often complain about idle animations in games for this problem, is that idle animations in games have become like these weird, they're cliches now. It's like they're like, they're just like, they're not even really doing anything other than moving like a game character idle. And it's just so stupid. And I'm like, why can't it be better than that? Like it's you have to understand the context that your character's in. Were they just running for a while? Can you give them an idle that feels like they're breathing, and then it slowly transitions into a bit more of a calm idle? But how calm? Are they surrounded by enemies that they have to be like at the ready? Basically, you have to understand what the emotions of that character would be at that given moment and try to give that life. If anything, games are actually sometimes easier because these things are usually a little bit more, black and white. The kind of the states that the game is currently in, and what the player is actually currently involved with, is usually a helpful guide. But yet, so often I find my animators giving me these sort of same old cliche animations. I'm like, what is this character doing? Oh, they're breathing. Are they? Because it doesn't look like it. It looks like they're trying to look like they're breathing. Like it doesn't look like a real breathe at all, And some of these more cartoony games or more stylized games are really pushing the envelope on that. And I think sometimes it's suitable, but in a more realistic looking game, it wouldn't make sense at all. Like an Assassin's Creed game, the idols are usually pretty contextual, and they make, give the character the proper amount of life, and they look like they're, in the right state of mind for what's going on in the game at that time. Not always, because it can be difficult to get all the things right. And even though, maybe sometimes animations have been done, but they don't get triggered properly, there's often logic problems in video games that are causing animation problems.
Yep.
Let's drop another one up here. And I see that there's some kind of showing up in chat. Well, I think after this one, I'll go and we'll sort of hunt one down in chat and see. But if you do have a question, then by all means, just drop it.
All right.
In here. Let's see. We got another one here. Drop it.
Let's go. Okay.
This one okay? I'm going in order. Should I have
a
different one?
Well, I'm probably not going to be too much of.
Hold on a second. This was it here. Okay. Oh, that's actually a really good one because it comes up all the time in my classes.
Okay.
So is there a formula for coming up with a line of action? So there's no easy way of answering this one. This was, by the way, this is from Joker Cletus _ Joker Cletus is the one who asked this question. I think that if you're asking this question, it's because you need to do a little more homework on what line of action is. I think that you need to start studying it. I think you need to pick up some good books, and you need to because basically what lines of action are is it's sort of the energy line that flows through a character. And basically you need to pick up on that, and you want to try to echo that line with the silhouette as much as possible. What you don't want is a bunch of conflicting lines that just sort of don't have an overall feel and direction to it. Those poses they lack a line of action, and because they get drowned out. There's no clear resonating line of action, and it doesn't say that. It doesn't mean that all the body needs to follow and be parallel to that line. It's not what I'm saying at all. It just needs to be the main line that runs through the body that's very clear. And that line usually runs through the legs, through the spine, and up through the neck and the head, but also through the arms. You could have more than one line of action in a pose. That's totally fine, as long as there's sort of some consistency to it and a coherence to it. And so basically, if you squint your eyes and look at the silhouette, you should be able to discern that there's an overall shape. And the lines of actions are usually C curves or S curves. C curves are usually energetic lines, usually used in moments of action, like a jump, like takeoff moment of a jump, where S curves are often more seen in more relaxed poses, where characters are a bit more at rest, or in poses where they're in a state of change. You see S curves a lot when you're changing from a C to another C. S's are what you're usually seeing because of usually because of overlapping action. You usually see some sort of S sort of form there during the transition. So that's sometimes why the S's are there. But basically, it's not an easy answer. It's like you kind of have to get it to get it. And the way you're going to get it is probably by picking up a good book on it, and or maybe even, God forbid, even if you are terrified of this idea, starting to do some life drawing. Life drawing is where you're going to get good at this. I tell people if life drawing is not a thing that they really feel like they want to invest in, then you could do the same thing with just poses. Pick your favorite character and just get good at giving yourself some inspiration, some poses, some reference, and try to recreate those. In other words, find some good poses that have already good existing lines of action, and then use those as your references. And then what you're probably going to want to do is even push those to even refine and help exaggerate an already existing line of action. Is basically how you push a pose, is that you make them even more of what they can be. Great books I could suggest, there's so many out there. The one I usually point out is Samantha Youssef's book, if you find it, although it's a little tricky to find because I think it's out of print right now. You used to be able to get it on Amazon. And I know she wants to make another one, so maybe they'll do a reprint of the original one at that time. But that, if you could get your hands on that book, you should. Other books I could suggest would be the Bernd Hogarth books. He's got a lot of really good ones, like dynamic figure drawing. He's I don't know if he's still around. I always say this whenever I bring up his name, but he's an old school comic book artist. But I mean, there's many more. You know what? We should start making recommended reading lists for Agora. Yeah, that's a great one. That's a Bernd Hogarth right there. There you go. He's got both of these. There's a bunch of them. There's like at least 10 of them, I think. There's like dynamic wrinkles, and there's dynamic hands, and there's Yeah, and there's another really great one, and we had him. Why am I failing at his name right now? We had him at the 24-hour Ultimate Animation Challenge. He's one of the first speakers, one of the first guests, and he talks about the leading edge, drawing with force. Mike Matesi. So he's I have his book. I'd have to go try to find it, and the problem is I have most of my books are in piles right now because I'm reconfiguring my bookcase. So it's a bad timing for this conversation. But if you look for Mike Matesi and look for books made by him, I think the book he made is called Drawing with Force. And you can maybe go back and even check his, I think it's up on our library because it was part of the Ultimate Animation Challenge. You can see his little talk. You can also find his talks online, but he also talks a little bit. He talks about the leading edge, which is sort of a kind of a, it's connected to lines of action, I find. But yeah, V Plant. Yeah, that's exactly Mike Matesi. That's his name. If you want to check in chat there, she typed it for us to save you the hassle of figuring out how to spell it.
Thanks. Mate.
So yeah, thanks for that, Veronica. You're always always in the background, always making the magic happen.
She's always watching.
Always. Don't screw with her because she's always watching. Did you have? I feel like I just totally.
No, totally glad you took over that one. So just going back to Samantha Youssef, she's going to be up on our roster for experts. She is. Is she going to be open to analyzing life drawing? So if people,
I can't see why not.
Or she's just animation.
She'd be the perfect person to do that, right? I think if you had some, like, at least if you had you wanted to work on your poses and you wanted to get some feedback, she'd be amazing to do that. Yeah, because that's what she does. Like, her studio technique that's what she does. She instructs and she coaches. She even does one-on-one mentoring and stuff like that when it comes to this exact kind of topic. So, but your first step is at least getting a book or two on it and starting to absorb it, try to understand it. And then that's going to, just by understanding it, it's going to reconfigure your brain when you're making a pose, because you're going to be thinking about more things than just the utility of the pose or the message of the pose. You're going to start thinking about, also a good silhouette and one that has a good dynamic line through it that is, saying what I needed to say. It all starts with just understanding and then practicing.
Yeah, like check out the frame by frame, like those breakdowns, and start doing some breakdowns yourself. Just grab one of your favorite scenes from like super cartoony movies or anything really, and just trace over them in Photoshop. Really just understand what's going on.
Totally agree. I'm going to try to bring one up from chat here now. Let's see. Okay, I got one here. This one right here. Nabi Hobby, who's, I think, or at least was in chat. Maybe they're still here. If you are, hello, how are you? Is it safe to use N-cloth, N-hair, or other procedural generated animations in a demo reel? That is an excellent question.
If it's done well.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I think that we're entering it. I think maybe it depends on the industry that you're trying to get into. I think the game industry, this would be for sure okay, because we're always trying to get as much procedural stuff going on for this kind of thing, because it makes the animation process faster. And when you know that some things are just going to be taken care of for free, and it just looks better in the game, because there's lots of things that are going to happen to a character that is not going to be necessarily animation driven. Like, for instance, blends between animations, and sometimes blends, if used aggressively, would produce momentum, and that momentum won't be factored into what's going on the cloth. It's just going to do a blend from point A to point B, as opposed to drag properly, because it's physical. So I'd say that, so to double down what's your name again? Scott, right? What Scott said about doing it right. It's about like understanding why we use these tools and show proficiency at it, because then what you're able to do is be like, look, this is not me cheating. This is me working smart, not hard. And I want to show that I've dug into these systems and I know how they work. And so that way you now just became more marketable, because now hopefully your animation is good and I want you on the team. And hey, you also have a little bit of experience with some of these dynamic systems. Great. You can get in the engine, get your hands dirty and start helping with some of those, because we need a good artistic eye to tune some of these things, because otherwise they're being tuned by engineers, and that's not always going to end well. But also make sure you advertise it. Make sure that you're not like, don't put that stuff on your reel and not say, hey, by the way, the hair was dynamic, because that could get you into a lot of trouble, because people could be like, did you maybe, not think to tell us that you didn't, and I just don't think you want that to come up in a conversation. You want to be upfront and very clear about anything that you didn't keyframe on your own. Mocap, I have the same problem with mocap. People put mocap on their reels all the time. They don't necessarily even say that it was mocap, or sometimes they just say it was mocap, but they don't really let me know or understand what they did. Okay, good. So you rendered some mocap, bravo, and you put it on your demo reel. You need to give people a little bit more than that so they understand why they should be impressed by it.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's an opportunity to show off, but just make sure you sell it that way, and making it good, A, make it B, announce it, and C, maybe push the envelope with it, maybe come up with some cool usages of these technologies that maybe go like, wow, I never even thought of doing. That's amazing. Like maybe innovating a little bit, God forbid, because people are, at the end of the day, people are looking for trailblazers, right? They want people that are going to be autonomous. I want to be able to hire you and then put you in the production floor, and then it's just, you just force multiply everyone around you. That's the ideal scenario, right? You don't need to have your hand held, so you know what you're doing, but you're also going to maybe teach tricks to the people around you, because you're that type of person who's always looking for tricks, always looking for ways of getting it done more efficiently, because I don't want an efficient team, said no producer ever, is basically what's going on here. You want to make sure that you are in that kind of scenario. And I think that the same advice is true for film. I don't think it's more or less true for games. I think it's, as long as you're being upfront about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You could have the best animation on your demo reel, but if you've got cloth or sim that's not great, it's going to take away from that.
Yeah.
It's people will be paying more attention to the stuff that's not working to the stuff that is. So, I've seen it done super well. There was this one demo reel where this guy looked like a Pixar movie. He had a princess and that sort of thing, and the dress was all dynamics, and it just looked incredible. Yeah. And it's like, give him a job. But I've also seen the opposite, where the hair is just like flipping out. And
totally. Exactly. It's a chance for you to show off, but make sure that's not a chance to just make you look like a bumbling idiot who's just, playing with the cool toys, but you have no idea how to use them. I think the same thing. This question could have also been extended to lighting and rendering. I get that question a lot. Like, is it worth it? And I'd be like, yeah, if you do a good job, it's damn well worth it, because it could be that thing that stands you out above, beyond everybody else, because a good presentation is everything. But I'll tell you what, like, we used to make this joke. This predates the today version of demo reels. I come from the era of demo reels on VHS tapes. And then shortly after that was demo reels on DVDs. And now demo reels are all online. But back in the VHS and DVD days, you had a physical thing. And there were some people out there that really went above and beyond with the packaging. They would have a really cool, like the DVD case was like custom printed, and it was just amazing. And I'm always worried about those ones, because I always feel like they're compensating for something. And it's almost always true. Almost always. Usually the reel that impresses you the most are the ones that are just like, it's just a DVD in a black case with like their name on, like with masking tape. Those ones are usually the best. And usually it's because they spent all their time on the animation, and they burnt their animation to the DVD literally 10 minutes before they had to leave, catch the bus to get to the interview. Those are the people that usually have better stuff. But every once in a while, there's a well-presented reel that also blows my mind. Those are the people that I still remember today, because they had both. But the ones that I also remember in the negative way are the ones who are just like, it was just a complete train wreck. You know what I mean? Don't over package something that doesn't have the goods. All icing and no cake is not a good place to be.
Yeah. Because I've heard the opposite. Like, I've heard, if you want to get a job, like, stand out. You got to stand out. Like, you do. They're getting hundreds of these applications. So if you get something on your desk that is completely well packaged, and it's like, oh my god, this person went to the extra effort. You're right.
Yes, you can stand out for sure, but you stand out as an abysmal failure, and that's not good. So, and I don't want to scare people into the idea of not packaging their stuff, because I think it is a good way of separating yourself from the rest, because you will be remembered for it. But do you want to be remembered for good animation, or do you want to be remembered for like the person who overpackaged a piece of poop? That's the question, right? You gotta know your worth and know what you got in there, and don't oversell sell something that you spend the time instead on making your animations better, make the content better. It's a slippery slope. It's easy to fall down that little slope. Okay, so we have one from V Plant herself had a question. Let's throw this one up. Have you ever had? Yeah, she always gets the juicy ones. Have you ever had a program crash / data corruption on an apocalyptic level, like lost 2 weeks of work sort of crash data corruption? I have to say that I can almost spot the tears in this, as if this is definitely from experience. Yes, absolutely. Yes. I have absolutely experienced pretty bad, like just broken, like nothing sucks more than usually what it is I deleted something by accident, like an idiot, or I more often than not, it's just that something broke in the scene and I didn't save it as an ASCII file. And so like, I can't even send that to like one of my genius friends who knows how to like maybe unscrew a scene if they can dig into the mel. But yeah, it's happened. I mean, luckily it hasn't happened too often. The one thing you got to look out for is, especially for all of us that are working from home now, it's a smart idea to make sure that you have this is smart anyways, is to have a good backup scenario. Yeah. Like, don't just have all your data on like your C drive in documents. This is a recipe for friggin' disaster. At the very least, have a backup on a separate drive that's on your computer. If you want extra bonus points, you'll have also another backup of that, which will be on an external drive or on a NAS, a network access storage, which is what I have. And if you want to be even like the gold standard of backing up your software, or you're backing up your files, your data, the gold standard is to have 2 physical copies and a 3rd physical copy that's remote. In other words, not in the same house, because God forbid you have some natural disaster like a fire or a flood, that even if you were doing it all right, you had a physical failure of your drive because of something bad happening. This can be really bad. Like, think about it. If you had all your year's worth of stuff, all your demo reel stuff, you didn't really have it online. You always thought you're going to do it tomorrow and you just never do. And then one day it's all gone. You got to think about these things. It doesn't take that much time to at least, you could just at the very least, use your friggin' one or more of your cloud drives. Use at least that. Yep. Because then you can end up with like, I mean, I know I have like my OneDrive with Microsoft, because I actually have I have like a 365 account. It comes with, at least mine did when I bought it. It was like a 4-year plan. It came with at least 1 terabyte of space, which is a lot of space. That'd be pretty expensive if I bought 1 terabyte from Google Drive, but it's a decent amount of space. And so, that at the very least I could back up a lot of stuff there. Scott, you have some sort of tragic horror story to share with us? Something anecdotal?
Not a tragic horror story, but like 4 hours, I saw there was a comment there from Ayumi, 5-hour crash. I had something very similar where, I'd been working, didn't save, and next thing the power went out. Lost it, but I did find that when I got back into it, I animated it a hell of a lot quicker than the first time around, because I'd already done it before. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, when I was starting to work from home a few weeks ago, I went out, I bought like a 4 terabyte external, put all my skull brain stuff on it. Yep. Someone told me to get like a small backup box, a generator that you plug your computer into. So if there is a power failure, you've got like 5 to 20 minutes, depending on which one you get, to save all your work. And I wish I'd done it, because I was in the computer store, and then I was working the other day, power went out. I was like, if I had just spent $100 on that box.
Yep. So that's amazing advice. I didn't even think about that. The idea of something as simple as just having APC makes these battery backups. They're called UPSs. There are other brands on the market, but I feel like that company, I think the company's Schneider Electrics. They're probably the most prolific. It is 100% one of the best investments you can make. 100%. I have those everywhere in my house. I have a work computer and a home computer. I'm on my home computer now. They both have their own independent UPSs. I have, I'm a bit of a nerd. So when we built this house, I had like Cat 6 essentially wired into all the rooms that I would need it. And so I have like a switch in like a room, and like even like, so all my router and my switch, they all have their own UPS as well. And even my Xbox and my PlayStation, I put on a UPS, because you don't like, there's sleep mode, and then the power goes out, and then it complains about like possible data failure. So basically, you don't have to be an idiot nerd like me. At least have it on your computer, because it will save your life one day for sure, or at least your sanity. That's a really good piece of advice right there.
Oh, I'm petrified. If I lose like 11 years worth of work, like it would kill me. It would kill me. Crabnuts asked, can't wait to meet Crabnuts. He's can't wait
it's going to happen one day.
Are there no autosaves? The thing with there are autosaves, but half the time you don't know if it's autosaving or crashing on you. You know? Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, a lot of people that just simply turning on autosave would have saved themselves a lot of trouble. You should have that on for sure. I mean, it's crazy not to. It just takes a couple minutes to set up usually, depending on your software. You might as well do it. And nothing sucks more than when you build a new computer and you install everything and you forget, and then you're like, I can't believe I didn't turn on auto, or you forgot to turn on. Like, I don't even know why Maya ships and installs with infinite undos not by default. Instead, it's just some stupid number like 10, and it's just like, oh my god, I got burned by that again. But I think setting up your undos properly and setting up autoback is obvious first steps for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Good question.
Definitely. All right.
What next here? We're almost out of time. It happens fast.
I know, it's crazy.
I saw Girly Bits had mentioned that, in which it surprises me. I think those are probably American numbers, but 2 terabytes of Google space on the Google Drive is only $10 a month. That's $10 American. I guarantee you they gouge Canadians and probably some of the other countries.
Probably Australia.
I'd have to go check. But if it is indeed around that, I mean, I think I remember last I looked, I thought it was like 15, somewhere between 15 and 19 a month, which is a decent amount, but then again, that's a lot of space. And so you could have that one drive and you could use it. You know, it's all backed up and it's Google. So I would have a hard time believing that they're going to have any big data failures. And if you're worried about it being like, I mean, I certainly wouldn't recommend you put like some very sensitive information on that drive, because it is a cloud drive. And so, but I mean, what I mean by sensitive is things you don't want people to know about, like your social security number and things like this are probably better saved somewhere else than a cloud drive. But you know, that all depends on where your barometer is as far as trusting a lot of these companies. But like, you know, at the end of the day, these companies do get hacked and passwords are learned. So I paid every month. I back up my animation stuffs on it, and all my personal work as well. That's just smart. Girly, take a page out of Girly Bits is Girly Bits is such a funny name. That's just good advice. I think we live in an age where it doesn't need to be a hassle. You can just use the technology that you're surrounded by these days.
Yep, absolutely.
Let me see. Do we have another question that we can dig up for our last little? How about we try to get 2 more questions? We'll get the last one that was in orange in the sheet, and we'll take one more for chat.
Okay.
So here we go. You like this one? Is a good one?
This is a juicy one. This is.
I haven't read it yet. I see a color.
I think we're going to be going for like another 2 hours with this one.
Okay, this one is, as an animator, what are the signs you should look out for? What are the signs you look out for when it's time to decide to change direction? What are the signs you look out for when it's time to decide to change direction? Okay, so I think, and this, by the way, this question was asked by Bums to You.
You thought Girly Bits was an interesting name.
Yeah, I know. We got all kinds of handles on here. As an animator, what are the signs? Man, that's a good question.
It's a good question.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make the assumption. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I think what this means is, how do I know as an animator that maybe it's not working? The shot doesn't work. I think that's what you're asking. Like, take a different direction, or is it direction in your life and your career? Like, you're trying to animate. I'm
guessing it's that.
Because you could take it both ways, right? Like, like if you reread it, it could be both. How about we just answer it both ways? 2 for 1.
Let's do it.
Okay,
yeah,
so if what you're asking is, how do I know that the shot's not working anymore, and when should I actually maybe change direction? I'd like to try to sort that out at the block phase. Like, I like to try to sell the shot to myself and maybe my peers and hopefully my supervisor or my mentor, you know what I mean? I always try to get something early blocked out so that I could show them. I want to be able to pitch my idea. Because if I can get other people excited by it, then it's probably going down the right road. And you don't want to get yourself like the whole analysis paralysis is a thing in animation, because there's literally a million ways that you could actually do that shot. And you could be chasing your tail forever, or try to adopt a good enough attitude. You know what I mean? And but this question strikes at the heart of, how do you know it's good enough? And I think it all comes down to getting feedback. Getting feedback from anybody. You could be getting feedback from your mom, your dad, your best friend, your brother or sister. Like, get feedback from anything, as anybody, because just seeing how they react to it is, I think, going to be probably very telling. So I'd say block it out and pitch it. Get used to pitching it to whoever can look at it. If you're on the job, the pitch is going to be probably going to your peers and your supervisor. If you're doing personal work, then you're going to have to probably have a network of people that you can actually rely on. And a good way of doing that is just being a part of a community like this. Is where we're going. One of the things that I'm most excited about for Agora.Community is getting those profiles set up, so people can be posting their own work. So rather than doing it on Discord, you can actually go and just post it on your own channel, and it shows up as like a news feed thing on people that are following you. Like, I think that what a great way to just be able to network. So it just happens automatically, and these conversations just be organically occurring every minute of every day. And it's a great way to get that feedback. Until then please do utilize the Discord channel and get your stuff out there. I see the really great conversations happening on the channels there, where people are giving each other really great advice. So keep that up. So I don't know, do you want to take a crack at that version of the question, or you want to take a crack at the way you read it?
Just, if you are going to your mum or your dad, just be careful, because they don't want to hurt your feelings sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
So
they'll
be like, oh, that's very nice. Or they don't even understand what they're looking at.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's a good point. You got to know how to get feedback from people that are not animators. And I think the key is don't expect them to be able to give you feedback on the animation. They'll be able to give you feedback on understanding the shot. For instance, you could be like, what's going on in this shot, Mom? Ask, like, poise it like this, so that it's not just like, how do you like my animation? Because they're going to be like, it's so amazing, dear. That's so great. Because it's obviously more than they can probably do, unless your mom or your dad is some famous animator I don't know about. But I mean, the point is, yes, you need to take it with a grain of salt, and you need to, what you can expect from certain people, and take it for what it's worth, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the last films that I worked on, they had us drawing our idea out on Post-it notes and pitching it that way. And then we could just tear it up or change it, like, it's like, well, I like the lower half, but let's change the top half. So you just draw it on a new Post-it note, stick it over the top. They had us do this really good exercise where they got us to draw the character like 10 times or something like that. And then we had to go through and find out, just find what our best one was, which was the one that we really liked the most. And then we went and put it up on the wall. Everyone put their Post-it note on the wall. We went and looked at them, went, yeah, that's great. And they're like, right, go take it, rip it up. Like, what? Like, yeah, rip it up. Let's start. Like, don't get attached to your ideas. Like, just always be able to change gears and adjust. And sometimes your best idea might not be the best idea. So yeah, it's really, just getting out as many iterations as you can in that planning stage, because you're right. If you go too far down that road and you're in blocking or you're in spline, like, you've just wasted a whole lot of time for something that's going to have to change. Like, it's happened to me so many times where I've gotten a shot to the finish stage and it went to the animation director and they're like, take that out. Like,
oh no.
Whereas if they'd seen it before,
spend a day on it and get that feedback. Okay, you didn't even lose a day technically, because you put something out there. Now you have a better idea as to what it needs to be. Okay, great. You roll with the punches and then you block out a new shot, and the next day they're hopefully going to be like, yes, exactly. And now you're not polishing a turd. Now you know that is going to work. The animation director is on board. And this is a reflex that you need to get good at, because it's part of the job. Do not hold on to those shots for too long. Don't get so feedback. I think so. Again, to reiterate, I think to know whether it's working or not, it's not usually going to come down to only you. It's going to come down to how other people respond to it. And sometimes it's because it's their job. And sometimes it's because it's your mom and dad and your brother and sister, your friends. All these people have eyeballs, and they are audience members. They are to films. They are players of games. So they have an opinion. You just have to carefully craft the question so you can parse useful information and feedback from that. Another good way to do it, and people do this all the time, is silhouette mode. It's change your perspective. Make sure that you find a way of giving yourself a fresh set of eyes so you can look at it again for the first time. So silhouette mode is a good way to do that. Flipping it horizontally, mirroring it so that you're seeing the scene from a completely different, like it changes everything. By the way, that's terrifying doing that. By the way, you don't realize, what Joanna just said, flipping the canvas is very useful tool. Also, just like, just some distance. Put it on the back burner and work on another shot for a while and give it some time and come back to it the next day. Sometimes you'll just be kicking a dead horse and you'll come back to it with fresh eyes. You'll be like, oh my God, this is just not working. And okay, good. Now you have that perspective and then you make it happen. But again, you need to put yourself in a position where you're trying to get that feedback from either yourself or from your peers and or supervisors at a timely fashion. Like make sure it's coming in at the right time, not at the end, because that's just not fun. Producers don't like that. They don't like it when you spend 2 weeks polishing something that then doesn't even make it into the film, because that's 2 weeks that just vanish. They just got eaten by the monster, and that's not good.
And then you get blacklisted.
Yeah. And then you never work in the industry ever again.
Yeah. But if you want to change direction in your career, which is another way this question could go. Well, I think you kind of know.
Yeah.
If getting up in the morning consistently is a struggle, maybe you're like 5-10 minutes late to work, then like you understand, like you do have this gut feeling of what you want to be doing. And sometimes it's taking a step back and reflecting on that. Things that I've done in the past, and I swear by this, is just take time, get a piece of paper, get a notepad, go somewhere quiet and just start writing. And I've done it before. It's like, okay, what do I like about where I'm at? List all that stuff. All right, now what don't I like about where I'm at? List all that stuff, right? And
just taking stock almost.
Taking stock, and then look for what is working, and then go, okay, and then look previously at things that you've done and say, okay, so just, is it okay for me to get a little bit personal here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay with that?
So that's what we do at Agora.Community. We pour our heart and tears out of the stream. Go for it.
No, I mean, for me, it was because I was so heavily involved in acting and I loved it, and I just loved that performance. Being an animator, love that as well, because I was always like just making things move when I was in high school, and so I really wanted to marry those two things and use my acting skills with my computer skills and that. But I got to a stage in the career where I was just sitting at the computer screen plugged in for 8 hours, 9 hours a day, and so there was something missing. And so I had to take that step back and go, right, so what is it? Well, dude, you love performing, and you love, like, you're not getting up, you're not moving around, you're not talking to people. So I realized that I was missing that performance, which is why I've sort of started this YouTube channel, because that kind of fulfills that need of that creativity that I was missing. Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, and what you're kind of talking about here is, because it may not be so black and white, right? You might love animating, but if you love it, like if you know that you like it and you spend all of your time doing that, then you may be missing other things that you like. And you might need some of those other things to balance your peace of mind and your sense of fulfillment. It's very possible. I mean, anything that breaks that and breaks it up a little bit and gives you some time to reflect. I mean, some people swear by meditation, right? Mindfulness is really a way for you to silence your mind for at least a little while during the day, so that you can allow yourself, it's almost like cleansing the palate in a way, so that you are not just in this sort of gerbil wheel, like this constant just running on a wheel all the time. Even though you're convinced that you love it, you probably do, but you might be missing a lot of other things that are going on around you, and there are other opportunities. So like by having another outlet, like you're still involved in animation, obviously, and but having this other thing on the side is maybe complements that, right? It gives you that extra little sort of thing. So having your own little personal project can go a long way to helping fulfill some of those other things that aren't being satisfied by your animation career.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah,
some
and
people might get scared by that, thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't be animating because I really like this acting thing. It's like, well, maybe I just like both. Maybe there's a way of having both, and maybe take a shot at it and see what happens. Who knows? Maybe the YouTube channel just takes off, and next you know, this is all ancient history. We never see you again because you're just flying around in personal jets with all the YouTube money you make, right? We don't know.
Yeah, all that. I watched that conversation with Daniel Floyd. I know what it's going to take to make that. But no, and sometimes it's either like you change directions completely, or maybe it's a lateral move in
absolutely
in the studio that you're in. Maybe it's getting into a different department. So you know, for me, maybe it's becoming more of a, I don't know, like project manager. So I'm still involved, still doing it, but I'm up moving around, talking to people, you know.
That's it.
Yep.
And you're still like able to work and touch and work with the same sort of big picture of animation, but maybe just approach it in a different way. This is funny that you said this, because I wanted to just tip my hat over to Girly Bits again here, because in chat there was sort of like there, you know, so this hopefully you don't mind. Wow, let me try that again. Words usually require the proper coordinated movement of lip and vocals to create the proper words.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's a thing, apparently. I just forget to do it sometimes when I have a mic in my face. So Girly Bits hopefully you don't mind me sort of just putting a spotlight on you here for a second, but I think it's meaningful. And I think that a lot of people feel the same way as you do. So I'm going to use you as an example to talk about something. So you started off by saying, God, I really wish I had that kind of environment. And I think that I think what you were reacting to was this idea of having people that you can actually pitch to reliably and safely, in a way that you know you don't have to feel weird about throwing it out there and getting some good feedback. Then you followed it up with, it's so hard to have that when you work remotely. And I agree. Remote has made this more difficult. This was one of the main motivators behind why we decided to pull the trigger on this community, is because we didn't know how bad this whole pandemic was going to get. David and I were like, if there was ever a time, this would be the time, because there's going to be for sure a need for it, because animators are going to feel like they don't have that communal water cooler that they used to go to at school or at work to just be humans trying to learn the same thing together, you know? So we decided that it was time to really get it up and running as soon as possible. That's why there's a lot of features that are still missing, because we're just like, you know what, we're just going to start and just keep adding things to it until it's that sort of perfect vision of that we have in our minds. Then you said, I think this is where you moved into this. So to be honest, sometimes I worry that I'm not ready, and I should be in animation coordination until you said something earlier where I must have missed it. You said something about you just feel weird putting it out in public. Because a lot of people feel like this. I don't know where you said it. You said it up there somewhere, but basically you were saying that it feels like it doesn't feel right to put it out there, probably because how you feel right here, right? Sometimes I worry that I'm not ready and I should be maybe in coordination until I can get better animation. Coordination management is so much easier, but it's not my dream, you know? So I would say, look, there's nothing wrong with that. If you can get a coordination job, okay, or a production job, if you are learning, this could be the best thing you ever did, because one of two things is going to happen. One of maybe not just two things. Let's say three things. One, it puts you at a job, okay, where you're around animation. You can network. You can start making friends with and prove your worth to the people around you. And if you can, why can't you put it out there that your dream is to be an animator one day? I've seen this happen on the job countless times, where people transitioned over because people of course are going to give, you know, Girly Bits a shot. Girly Bits is awesome. They're running around solving production fires every day. They're able to help me when I need help. They're able to, like, they're so organized. It's like, why would I not give them a chance? Why? I know her better than I know some random person who had a decent demo reel. I see this all the time. So it could be your way in. It's the same reason why a lot of people try to get into a video game company, but they start as a tester. I have to say that the vast majority of them do not make their way out of the testing department, but that's usually because they don't apply themselves, or maybe because they're not cut out for it. They have a fantasy about working as an animator, or as a VFX artist, or as a programmer, or a game designer. It's usually a game designer. And so they figured the best way of getting there would be just get that job in a game company. And that does work. As a matter of fact, one of the last production managers that I thought was amazing was a tester that moved their way up the ranks in testing and became a supervisor in the QA department, and then they became a producer. a development producer, and that was what they wanted to do, and they were on that tangent. They just kept applying themselves, they kept proving themselves, and made it not a secret that they aspired to do more than what they were currently doing. So it could be the perfect first step. Another thing that could happen is that you might find that you really love coordinating. You might love it. Who knows? Maybe you're like, I loved animation. I thought I wanted to be an animator. Maybe I still kind of do, but I also really love this. You might get a sense of fulfillment right away, and that might satisfy you. And why look back? You might end up producing one day. You might be some big, gigantic producer in some big film company because you started as a coordinator. You know what I mean? Because that would be the ladder you would climb on the coordination, like, sort of track. And then the other thing that could happen is you might learn you hate both of them. And you're just like, I thought I liked animation, but like being around it every day and seeing all the drama and like all the stress that people are in sometimes, because productions can be stressful. They're not always stressful, but it turns a lot of people off. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you realize, oh my God, now that I see it for what it is, so sometimes you need to taste something before you know you like it. And so put yourself out there and just try, because one thing is for sure, you will have more information now because you did that than you did before, as opposed to just living in that vacuum of just worrying about not being ready, because you'd be a coordinator and continue working on your animation skills. Man, you're going to probably find some people that are like, senior animators that might even be willing to give you some feedback on your stuff, man. Like, why wouldn't they? Gorilla Bits is awesome. Of course I'm going to take 5 minutes to look at her stuff. Like, why would I not do that? So I don't know. Yep. Just a thought. I saw it in there. I felt like I needed to react to it.
No, I think it's a good point. Mind if I go on a tangent with that?
Please do. Go on one. I'm an expert at tangents, though. It's only fair.
Just what you were saying then, Brent, brought me back to that conversation we just had about getting your shots done as soon as possible. Like, do life like that. Try it. Experiment. Absolutely. And if you don't like it, throw it out. Like, move on. There's a really good book called Fail Fast, Fail Often. And sometimes we can just noodle on things and then we get it out to the world and realize whereas if we just got it out straight away, then we can get that feedback and then move on to the next thing. So absolutely, like, just try it. You never know what's going to come.
Absolutely.
Go on.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say there's also another great book. It's called Skullboy and the Leap of Faith.
It's funny because it's true. There is a connection here. That's funny.
No, absolutely. And that's the exact reason why I wrote this story, is because there's so much self-doubt and things that can just hold us back, whereas we just need to take that step and go for it and try it out. And it's tough and it's really hard and it can take years to come over that, get over that. But skullbrainbooks.com. It's on the first page. You can download it for free. I'm not even asking for your mailing list, although you should sign up to the mailing list, because I'm sending out weekly emails just about stuff that I experienced trying to get into animation, or at least just trying to live a life that I thought was fulfilling to myself. Like, we're getting pretty deep and philosophical here, but it's just kind of like, from what you've been saying, Girly Bits, it's just kind of that doubt that can hold us back sometimes.
Totally. But what's the worst that's going to happen, right? You try and you fail, and you're like, but even if the failure doesn't overwhelm your sense of still wanting to do it, you're on the right path. You just got to keep putting yourself out there, right? Yeah. I think finding a good community and finding a mechanism that allows you to get that feedback and to start craving it, right? Like, you shouldn't be like So, quick anecdote here that's related to the same topic that's interesting to dig into. We offer reviews, as most of you probably know, on our website that you can order from one of our many experts. And there are 2 different flavors. Well, there's 4 technically. There's 2 different times. You get a 15-minute review or a half an hour review. But then there's 2 different flavors. There is a public flavor, which is a little bit cheaper, and a private flavor. What that means is, if you want to be reviewed but you don't want anyone else to see it, then you're going to order the private review, because then it's between you and the reviewer and no one else needs to see it. The public ones go on the library so other people can learn from your successes and your failures. And that's the one that we believe in the most, is why we incentivize it by making it the more affordable one. It's not like it's more expensive to make it more private. It's just that we actually wanted to incentivize people to putting it out there, because we believe in the fact that we can learn as a group better. We don't need to do it on our own. We could do it as a group. There's a reason why, if I reflect back on my time in animation school at Sheridan, yes, we had some amazing instructors, but you know what we had more than that was even more powerful than amazing instructors? A bunch of people that had the same dream, and we learned off of one another. We supported one another, and we grew together, more so than we ever would have done on our own. And so we're trying to provide that same kind of environment here. And it doesn't even have to be here. If maybe you have a school that you go to, maybe there's a community in your town, like the Vancouver Animation Network. Look in your immediate vicinity, and you're going to find there's probably groups that you can join. There's the IGDA, which is a famous game group, which has chapters in cities all over the world. The International Game Developer Association, I believe is what IGDA stands for. They have meetings at GDC, and it's just a way of connecting with people that are like-minded, so you can ask for their advice and you can get some feedback from them and just do it together. This is what you need. This is what everybody needs in life, and then just be willing to put yourself out there. So for those out there who want to get reviews, I started asking people, why do you choose the private reviews? I wanted to understand the people who are choosing private reviews. So I wrote them emails, and a lot of them, most of them said, I don't think my work's good enough. And I was sort of shy to put it out there. You know what's really funny about that? I'm going to tell you a little secret. Most of the people who chose private reviews because they were too shy, they had amazing work. And I just find that amazing. And it's usually the people that are very critical and they're perfectionists that are going to think that the work is not great. And so you need to be self-aware enough to realize that you're only stopping yourself from growing by not putting yourself out there publicly. You should get to the point where you want to throw it out there and you want it to get torn apart, because there's going to be a day in your life where that might not happen, and you're going to start feeling stagnant because you can't get the feedback. There are animators everywhere working jobs that they hate, not because the job is no good, but because they don't feel like they're growing as an artist or as a human being. And so, consider yourself lucky if you can get a lot of feedback and there's a lot of things to say about your work, because that feeling may not be forever. You're going to hit these plateaus, and then you're going to be itching for someone to tear a strip out of you, because it means that you're going to get better. And, even people that are really good want to get better, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know, Girly Bits, if you were at the start of this Q&A, but I was sort of giving a little bit of my background. My first job came from a demo reel, and the only acting piece I had was in stepped. I think it was on 4s. I don't think it was even on 2s, and there was no lip sync. And I got into the industry. It's and that could be also having just a pleasant demeanor, just being mature in your interview and things like that. But if people see the potential, they're going to take a risk. And maybe you need to start off doing some preschool TV shows where you just sort of pumping out these episodes, but
absolutely,
your foot's in the door, because that job then led to my dream job, which was Ninja Turtles. But it's
the other thing about TV jobs that some people snub their nose at because, I want to work at Pixar. Do not underestimate the need, the real lesson that will be taught on a television production. Do you know what they're going to teach you? They're not going to teach you to make your animation awesome. You know what they're going to make you do? Become efficient at animating, which is something that you need to do no matter where you are working. You need to have good workflows and good discipline to be able to consistently produce at a speed that the job requires. And so TV is going to teach you that, because it is, trust me, it goes fast. You're pumping out episodes every couple of weeks. I
had to do 300 frames a day on one job.
No, for sure. The quotas are anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute sometimes, maybe even bigger, in some cases. Depends on the style and it depends on the budget. But meanwhile, a Pixar animator has somewhere between 3 and 5 seconds usually a week. So just to put it in comparison, but of course, you're packing a lot more quality and content into those 5 seconds than you would obviously in a television production, because television productions are just not the same caliber. Just one last little note on this topic. I think for people like Girly Bits, get a review, order a review. You're going to find that all our reviewers are super down to earth, super, super nice. And if you can't afford it, then you know what? We're starting to do this new thing. You might have seen Scott's recent post on free public reviews. Yes, you'll need to put yourself out there, but it will be, you'll still have you'll still be able to do it under the guise and anonymity that comes with chat, because the first version of these public reviews will just be like this. I don't know if you've ever seen one of my, I do this every Sunday night, by the way. I'm changing it to, I'm doing the same thing that I've been doing for the last Sunday nights for a long time now, but instead of it only being limited to my own over animated kind of Discord channel, I'm bringing it to the Agora community. So now anybody can sign up for this, and essentially it's just me on Twitch. You're going to get notified if you were one of the chosen ones, because we're going to always auction out, or not auction, but lottery off the people who actually did sign up. If we have more than like the 5 or 6 slots that we're actually going to go with, and you're going to get contacted. You could be there live if you can. I would suggest it, because then you can communicate with me via chat. But the nice thing is, it's like you're still just a bunch of text. No one knows who you are. Just throw yourself out there. Nobody knows who Crabnuts is. We all want to know, but deep down I don't want to know, because it's like he will lose that mystique, So I told him, when he does appear someday in person or on video, he needs to be in disguise. So he wants to go get a crab suit, and I totally endorse this. And my point is, put yourself out there in one way or another, because that's where you're going to start to really grow, because you're going to start to get a better feel for how you're doing, because you're going to get the feedback from someone who's used to supervising animators. So they're going to be able to tell you, tell them in the note, be like, hey, I'm putting myself out here. Brent totally coerced me online to the point that I finally agreed to getting a review. In the notes, say, can you also just let me know how I'm doing? I'm new at animating. Do you think I got what it takes to get a junior job? If no, what specifically am I lacking? Just be pointed about it, and they'll tell you, because they've been asked that question before. I know I have, and I'll be very honest with you. The last thing I want to do is be too nice. If you've seen any of my reviews, I say it like it is. I usually spend. As a matter of fact, I often feel
not until the Grumpy Brent review.
Yeah, well, that's it. That'll be a whole other story. But I try to do my best at saying really what's on my mind. And if anything, I sometimes feel a bit bad that I spent a lot of time harping on the things that could be better, and I don't spend enough time also praising the good stuff. That is something that I need to get better at. But at the end of the day, what you're coming to me for, hopefully, is not a pat on the back, but you want to grow. That's usually what I'm assuming when you're going to be putting yourself out there. So what I want to do is I want to deliver a lot of ammunition for you to chew on to grow. So there you go. Yeah. There it is in a nutshell. I think that's it for tonight. I think we did good. It's a whole extra half hour. Thanks, Scott, for being here. It was super last minute.
Thanks for inviting me.
Great for showing up. Yeah, we're going to have you on more often. It's great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. No, thanks everyone.
But just full disclosure, I would not have invited him with his crappy microphone. If it wasn't for his good, it required the good microphone for him to win a seat at a seat at the hot seat. He needed to have the microphone.
This was what I had.
Oh, is that what you were using before? Oh man, it's like a little shotgun mic.
Yeah. It's not good.
It's it's good. Those are whoa. I just pushed over some of my books in a pile next to me. The Tascam, is that what it is? A Tascam boom mic?
Tacstar or something.
Oh, okay. Tacstar. Yeah. Totally. I think I actually have the same one in my
of Amazon.
Yeah, it's not a bad mic. They're made for the top of a camera if you want to go run and gun shooting. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's not quite not like your podcast.
It's not like this mic. Buttery smoothness.
I want to hear what it sounds like when you get all close like this. Go ahead, give it to me.
Close like this.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Brent. I like it. It brings a whole other dimension to Scott. Okay, well, thank you, Scott, for real. I'm gonna let you off the hook here and let you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Yes,
it's day for you. It's morning for you.
It is.
Yeah,
it's midday. It's just turning 12.
Okay, well, enjoy the rest of it, and I'll see you. I'll see you around, dude. Cheers.
See you, everyone. Bye.
So that was fun. A little mixing it up a little bit, bringing a different personality. I teased earlier in the chat, in the whatever the conversation or the stream. You might not have been there for this, but we are planning finally to start bringing in people. I guess you could consider Scott the first dose of this, to mix it up a little bit, have different personalities with different backgrounds to come in here. What I'm planning for soon is going to be a conversation with a recruiter, like I said, who's worked in the other side, the business side of this industry. He's got a lot of things to talk about and will be great for questions. We're going to have him first as a conversation with, and we're going to follow that up, hopefully, if he's available, with a Q&A. So that way we'll kind of introduce the topic, and we'll talk about a lot of things that are he's going to say a lot of things that are probably going to inspire questions on your end. And you can bring those questions to the Q&A that we'll follow up with him. So stay tuned, because that'll be happening probably early August by the looks of it, from the conversation I saw in email. But that'll be a good one to show up to, because I think it'll be some much needed conversations about things that just most animators I know don't know about. So you can always, knowledge is power after all. So the more you can know about the things that are going on behind the scenes, the better informed decisions you can maybe make when it comes to picking the next job or the first job or whatever. And because he's also on the front lines of receiving demo reels as a recruiter, you'll also be able to ask specifically, like, what are you looking? What are recruiters typically looking for? Like, how do they know how to pre-filter stuff before they send it onto the desk of the animation supervisor who's looking to fill out their department? It's a good question, right? Recruiters are all different, but sometimes it's good to know what they're specifically looking for, so that you at least you make sure, because nothing sucks more than sending your stuff to a company and never hearing back, because it was getting to a recruiter and the recruiter, it just didn't match the criteria they were looking for, and they're not qualified to give you feedback. Right. So it's sort of, they're just sort of like, now what? Like, I wish I could get better and maybe increase my chances of getting that job. But if I don't know what I was lacking on the demo reel, then how am I ever going to get better? That could be frustrating. You could also order a review from us over here at Agora.Community, and we'll try to tell you what you're probably missing, because, it may not be specific what a recruiter was going to catch, but I'd like to think if it's going to pass the test of an animation director, you should be passing the recruiter test as well. So, but he probably knows a couple tricks that I certainly don't know. I'm really interested in having this conversation myself, to be honest. So thank you again to Scott, and thank you to chat. Thank you for always being here. It's always the same usual suspects. It's funny. I feel like these conversations are so great, but I feel like there's so many more people that could benefit from these conversations. I would see the same faces, the people that like to show up to these kinds of things. Live streams aren't for everybody. I don't expect everyone to flock to these things. It's not like we're, playing some hardcore game and I'm getting headshots every 2 seconds. It's not an adrenaline filled stream, but we get a lot of good feedback about, people who do go to these streams and like it. So, don't be shy to spread the word. Let people know, let people that you're maybe learning with, or people that you're working with, about the stream. It's nice to have people from all walks of the animation planes, whether they're in, veterans or people that are, even high school, that are looking to get into the industry for the first time. Crab Nuts, that's how we met on my stream. I gave him a whole pile of feedback, and he told me, after I give all this feedback, he's like, yeah, I said, where are you coming from? Did you study already animation or what? And he's like, yeah, I'm a high school student. And I'm like, wow, I just gave you a lot of feedback, assuming that you were probably just somebody who's just starting to learn. And he is just starting to learn, but he's also really just starting to learn, because obviously he probably just got exposed to animation just recently for the first time. And who knows how good the animation class is at a high school. Maybe it's amazing. Maybe it's more of just kind of a novelty. I don't know. I would need to take a look at what the curriculum was, but yeah, it's great to get more people in here and to spread the word, because these streams are only as good as the questions. And so having more people in here with really good questions helps stimulate that conversation, and everyone can learn from it. Okay, well, I love you all. Talk to you soon. We have a couple streams. We have one tomorrow, actually. I believe, hold on. I always do this. It's always the same. I always forget to have it up, and I have to look like an idiot. I always forget. I always have a feeling of what's next. And I always, oops, that's the wrong one. Oh no, that's the right one. But then I second guess myself. Yeah. Okay. So, and of course, it's the one I can't say this name. Ilse Zamaripa. I think I got it right. She's got an acting background. She's got an animation background. She's a YouTuber. You probably have seen her because she's got really great content. I've never met her. I'm super excited to meet her, just because I always feel like I'm a little starstruck when I'm sitting down talking with people like Sir Wade and JD, because they've been out there putting themselves out there for so long. It's always nice to finally meet the person behind the channel. So that'll be a good talk. That's happening this Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. There is going to be the very first free public stream reviews hosted by me. It'll be on my channel, but don't worry, all the information will be given out, but you do want to sign up for it. If you're interested in one of those free public reviews, just take a look at Instagram and Facebook. Scott's posted on both of them, I believe, with a link to the Google form if you need to put your own name on the list. It's completely free, no strings attached. We're going to be doing this for a while to beta test just the whole free, the beta test the whole public streaming review sort of concept to kind of fine tune it before we make it an official thing. And to be completely honest, between you and me, I'd love to see this be a regular thing anyways. I like the idea of us always finding a way of giving out some free reviews for those who might not have the financial means. We made it as affordable as possible. It is like not very expensive, but expensive. The concept of expensive is a very relative term, and I fully acknowledge that. So, what's affordable to somebody may not be affordable to somebody else, especially depending on what country you're living in. So I get it. So what we want to do is, it's very important to us to find a way of getting more people access to this feedback. I don't want it to be only for the people who can afford it or the people who are not too shy to put themselves out there. So we're always dreaming up new ways of bringing that to you, and making it as accessible as possible. So that was one of the pillars of this whole organization from the beginning, was accessibility. So we'll find new ways, but join the revolution. Put yourself out there and see if you can get your stuff reviewed for free for this Sunday. It's going to always be Sunday nights, 10 p.m. No, 10:30. I can't remember what Scott's still in the background. Was it 10:30 or 10 did you advertise? Or maybe you haven't advertised it at all yet. The time. Anyways, you guys can go take a look at the posts. It's 10 or 10:30. One of the two is when they will be the streams every Sunday, and we'll try to do 10:30. Okay, cool. Thanks, Scott. So 10:30 Sunday evening Eastern Standard is when they're going to happen. And like I said, I have no due date. Right, I have nothing in mind right now as to how long those will go on for. But you came in here to show. I'm live streaming, and Christine, take a look at what a dedicated mom makes for her 5-year-old daughter turning 6. She decided she wanted to make a piñata. Look at this thing. She's spent literally, how many hours have you spent on this now? Way more than she should have.
1/6 of the.
These are all individually hand cut pieces of like streamer, the streamers you would buy. She's cut them into little squares and sat there hunched over on a coffee table, gluing these things one by one. It's an see if you can't tell, it's a gigantic popcorn. You might not be able to see this. I'm going to eat one of these. Yeah, it's really big. It's really big. So it's a piñata, and so it's a very gender neutral piñata. If it was up to her, it probably would have been not her, but my daughter would have been a unicorn or something. But she's having a couple of her boyfriends over for the birthday as well, and they would probably die if they had to hit a piñata that was a unicorn. Anyways, there you go. That's a special guest appearance of Christine and her piñata. Okay, so after all that, I'm going to actually close this stream before something else really embarrassing happens. So thanks again for being here. Do take a look at the free reviews. Please do not be shy. Put yourself out there. I'd love to see your work. I'd love to comment on it. And maybe it's the thing that you're missing right now. Just all you need is that nudge to just have a spark of like, oh man, like he thought there was actually some stuff there that he really liked. That's all. And that's all it takes. I'm always going to make sure I point at a couple of things that are going to be encouraging so that you can double down on the things that are working. So anyways, bye. Talk to you later.